Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm in Brazil, South America, and this is Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus for August 14, 2020. Wherever you're at, I hope you're well, and I hope you're learning to think with Jesus. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And you have the mind of Christ, and you can be discipled by contact with the pure and perfect thoughts of Jesus Christ. You have the mind of Christ. So I hope you'll be challenged to think with Jesus. Here in Brazil, we're still facing the pandemic. We're still dealing with the fallout from this terrible sickness. But little by little, we begin to see things improving. Yesterday, I was in the city of São Paulo, and one of the things that tells you that the society is coming back is the traffic. It took me 2 hours to get home from São Paulo. Normally that takes me about an hour and 15 minutes. So there was 45 minutes of more traffic. So I was kind of celebrating. It still frustrated me, but I was still celebrating. We're going to talk again a little bit more about the enormous calm of God, or the profound rest in God. We're going to talk about how important this is in our spiritual life. I'm going to read the devotional here in just a second, but here's a thought. Everything is better when seen and experienced from rest and calm. Let me read that again. Everything is better when seen and experienced from rest and calm. I'm sure you've experienced, and you know that when you are rested and you are really calm, reality doesn't seem quite as intimidating. That's just true. So imagine if we could have a kind of calm and rest that is completely independent of our circumstances, but rather it is rooted in the perfect presence of God in us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and moment by moment. Let me read the devotional. We'll think a little bit more about the enormous leisure of God, or the enormous calm of God. God's leisure. The other day I was asked by my wife Pam if I had considered just how patient God is with us as he works on the restoration of our overdeveloped and overused souls. I jokingly replied, well, we aren't going anywhere, so why should he be in a hurry? Really, pretty nice thought, I think. I meant the reply as a joke, but as soon as the words left my lips, I knew that I was talking about something very true. God's leisure is enormous because he knows we're not going anywhere, and neither is he. In this world, nothing and no one seems to be permanent. Perhaps this is why leisure is so hard for us as humans. We can't relax and experience leisure or calm because everything seems to be moving away from us too fast. We are all living some kind of hurry. Perhaps the Sabbath in the Old Testament was about God's enormous leisure and man's tendency to always be in a rush. Perhaps Jesus' ability to only have 12 disciples points to his enormous leisure and calm about doing his Father's will. Remember the dream or vision God gave you about yourself? Calm down. You're not going anywhere, and neither is God. You're already on your way to becoming the vision he gave you. You can afford to develop a godly leisure too. In fact, godly leisure, called soul rest, is a requirement for you to become the vision God gave you. God has all the time there is. Be at rest. We need something, someone permanent in our reality to calm us down. I remember back in the 1970s, right when I was beginning the ministry, that someone gave me a book called The Tyranny of the Urgent. I wish I'd kept that book. I know it's somewhere on somebody else's bookshelf. I probably loaned it to another pastor. And that book was so helpful to me, The Tyranny of the Urgent. There is a tyranny of the urgent that wants to cause us all to not be able to rest. Now, you may be really hard on yourself, and maybe you don't always celebrate yourself, but let me ask you a question. If you have the ability at the end of a day to lay down and go to sleep and sleep profoundly, you should congratulate yourself. You should be very deeply thankful to God for that ability. If you have the ability to rest well, and be calm, that is a gift from God. There is a sickness across the globe called anxiety, and it is accompanied by depression. It is a pandemic. It is a tremendous challenge for people. And so if you have the gift of being able to calm down, and you have developed this spiritual discipline of being able to contemplate things from a posture of rest and calm, you are blessed. You are blessed. You know, when we open up our Bibles, we can see that this idea of calm and contemplation and rest is not something peripheral. It's not something that isn't important. Listen to these words from Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, and chapter 2, verses 1 and 3. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the hosts of them were finished. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all of his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. God rested on the seventh day. Well, first of all, God was not tired. That doesn't match who God is. God was not fatigued. He was not tired. So it doesn't mean the absence of the need for rest like we think of it. It was time for him to contemplate how good the creation really is or was as he was looking at what he had done. He was contemplating. He wasn't regaining his energy. You know, I think the Sabbath in the Old Testament was really about teaching the nation of Israel to stop everything and find the presence of God in everything 1 week at a time. Every week they needed to zero out everything and go to calm. Go to calm. How much difference would it make in our world if we continued this habit of every week we went to calm? I remember as a little boy in the United States that on Sundays all the stores were closed. That's not true anymore. We can't get away from all the activity of everything that's surrounding us. But this gift of being able to be calm, you know, we can also see this calm in Psalm 23. You remember where the Bible talks about, let me see if I can find the passage here. I should have had it open right from the very beginning. Let me find it. Psalm 23, here it is. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. What I want to call your attention to here in Psalm 23 is rest was the first thing God gave David, not the last. You know, rest is not a reward from having worked hard. Rest actually is the place from which we should become active. We've got this thing back. I have to earn rest. Rest was the first thing God gave to David. And it's the first thing that God would want to give to you if you will accept it. Have you ever asked God to give you calm, give you rest? It is a fruit of the Spirit, peace and gentleness. It is something God is willing to give us. Many of us who struggle with anxiety, if we would just set aside time every day to try to go to calm. I know how hard that is for some people, and if you can do that easily, you're a blessed person. But it is possible for us because Christ is our peace. We can also see rest in the behavior of Jesus. One of my favorite stories with Jesus in the New Testament is when he was on the Sea of Galilee, and he had taken his disciples from one side of the Sea of Galilee, he was going to the other Sea of Galilee, other side, and he went to sleep. Now, going to sleep in a boat with a lot of other people in not a large ship, I'm talking about a boat, and Jesus falls into a deep, profound sleep, and a storm comes over the ocean, or the Sea of Galilee, and the disciples, man, they are tired and frustrated, and they've been rowing, and and the water's coming in the boat and Jesus is asleep. And so they wake him up and accuse him of not caring that they're perishing. And he wakes up out of this profound calm and just opens his mouth and says, "Be still." And the ocean was still. You see, rest came first to Jesus. But it wasn't rest like we think of rest of, boy, I'm exhausted because of work. So no, it was a contemplation of the reality of God's permanence and God's control over my circumstances. It's a divine rest. It's really, really, really different. You know what? We can see this rest in the creation. We can see the rest in the history of people like David. We can see this rest in Jesus. But we can also see it in ourselves. When was the last time that you heard that somebody received the award for being the person who rested best? When was the last time you remember somebody being given a diploma from the University of Rest? When was the last time you celebrated the fact that you slept well and you rested, and now in the morning when the sun came up, what you were worried about last night doesn't look quite as bad? What if we could get a bachelor's degree in deep rest? What if we could get a master's degree in deep calm? What if we could get a doctorate in profound and deep satisfaction and rest? I want to encourage you to value whatever amount of true inner calm you have been able to experience up until now. And if you're experiencing it during this pandemic, you need to be given a round of applause. And if you can live in the midst of whatever you're facing in the country where you live and be calm, you should be celebrated. And you should be deeply grateful, because there's so many people who have no idea what it is to be calm, truly calm. And this is not something that only a few Christians can get a hold of. This is something that really should be a part of all of our plans. I need the enormous leisure, calm of the divine permanent for me to be able to deal with all these temporary things that surround me in this world where everything that is seen is temporary and that which is not seen is permanent. I pray that God would give you deep and profound rest. I really wish there was a university of rest, a university of deep calm. And I wish it was led by disciples of Jesus, because one of the greatest experiences about being a disciple of Jesus is though he may seem to be sleeping, he can awaken whenever he needs to, and immediately from his deep rest in his Father, he can calm the storm. And then he can say to us once again, "Oh, ye of little faith, why weren't you resting?" I know we all have our arguments. Well, the storm was blowing so hard I couldn't rest. Yeah, we can. I believe we can. I believe that we can live with Jesus in a deep peace and a deep rest. Hey, think about this with Jesus. His mind is yours, and his word is the final word. God bless you.